Okay, so if you are looking at social media like I'm spending way too much time on this, I wish there were an easier way, I don't know if I'm focusing on the right things, how do I streamline this? You're in luck, because in this video I've got 7 tips for how you can make things way simpler on social media. Now, for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Andrea Jones. Hello! And I'm a social media strategist all about building profitable communities online through simple and fun social media solutions, and really underlining the simple today. Now, I've got 7 tips, and this is really for those of you who are feeling burned out, overwhelmed, stressed, like you're doing way too much. Hopefully this will help streamline things below. Now, tip number 1 is the most important one. The rest are kind of in a random order, but tip number 1 is all about time blocking. Setting aside the right amount of time so that you can focus on what matters most. And here's what I suggest. 1 hour a week for creating your social media posts, and about 15 minutes a day for managing and growing your account. So 1 hour a week, 15 minutes a day. I think that's something we all can manage. And with that 1 hour a week, you want to make sure that you are giving yourself that 1 hour and being true to yourself. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to create a lot of social media posts, and that's great. But when you're first starting out, it may take some time to get used to writing social media posts and creating your graphics. So give yourself that 1 hour. If you create 2 posts in the hour, great. If you create 7, even better. Now, for the 15 minutes a day, you want to make sure that you're spending that time daily consistently. Those are the 2 most important things. I'm not talking about 15 minutes 1 day a week, and I'm not talking about spending 3 hours on a Saturday. I really want you to do 15 minutes a day, and usually I say 5 days a week, right? Because we need weekends off and that sort of thing. But give yourself that time to engage and network with your current followers and find and engage with new followers. Personally, I like to use Asana and Google to keep track of these, so Google Calendar. Set myself a little task, and on Fridays I sit down and I plan out my content for the next week, and then every day I have little reminders to check in. Okay, got it? Good. Tip number 2 is all about scheduling that content. So what are you doing in that 1 hour a week? What are you actually creating? Well, one of the things I really want you to focus on is actually writing out the captions for the next week. You can make this super simple. You don't have to use a fancy tool. You can use something like Google Drive or Google Keep or notes on your phone, and really take the time to write out what you want to say for the next week. And then you can schedule it out. You can use a tool. There's a free version, later.com, really great for beginners. Or if you've been doing it for a while, I really recommend Social Report. That's what I use. Me and my team love to use that for our clients. You guys know, you've probably seen some of my other videos about Social Report. Love working with them. They just have a really great product. And so it really helps us schedule out those posts so we don't have to think of it. You know, those moments where you pick up your phone and you look at Instagram like, what the heck do I post today? We want to get rid of those types of pieces of content, okay? Now, to help you create that content, there's 2 aspects, the caption and the image. So for the caption, you actually can create a swipe file for yourselves. And if you're in the Savvy Social School, we talk about this in the caption training that we recently produced, which is all about how to create your own swipe file. And by swipe file, I mean this is your content library. These are words, phrases, sentences, paragraphs that you use in your marketing materials. And they really focus in on things like, how do people feel before they encounter your content? Or how is someone going to have a result after experiencing your offer or your service or your podcast or your YouTube video? So it's really focusing in on the feelings and the psychology behind your audience. So what are they hoping for, wishing for before they find you? And then how is that resolved afterwards? So if you can give yourself that swipe file of things to say, when you sit down to write your captions, it's just going to flow a lot easier because you can plug and play those different aspects. Now the second aspect, which is my 3rd tip, or actually my fourth tip, this fourth thing that you want to focus in on when you're looking at your social media posts is that graphic, that social media graphic. Give yourself kind of like a guideline for this and really set this up in the beginning, okay? So this is gonna take some time to set up, but it's really gonna streamline everything. For a lot of my students, we're teaching them how to use canva.com to create a graphic template, or we provide templates for them so they can just add in their colors, their brand logo, and go, okay? Really simple, really easy, and don't change it. The problem is we spend so much time kind of fiddling with these designs, and that's just eating up into our time. The content of your post is way more important than the visual aspect, though it is still important. Another thing you can do is if you have your own photography, use the same filter on your post. So if you use a photography editing app, I like Visco, but there's a whole bunch of other ones out there where you can just add a filter to your post, or even just using like Instagram's native filter options. Use the same one every time. That will kind of give your brand a theme to it. Okay, so we talked about scheduling your content, we talked about the swipe files, we talked about creating the graphics. So my fifth tip is to give your days themes. Okay, so theme each day, or you can do this by the week and by the month. I like to do daily. So on Mondays, I'm posting a quote. Every single Monday, I'm gonna post some sort of quote. On Tuesday, I'm posting a tip of the day. Every single Tuesday, I'm sharing a tip, some sort of something that I can teach to my audience. So by theming your days like that, you're cutting down on this decision-making process. And there's this thing called decision fatigue, where if we make too many decisions in a day, it actually starts wearing down our brain functions, and we at some point go, no more decisions. We don't want to get there when it comes to our social media posts. So outline everything ahead of time. So when you sit down to write those captions and choose the graphics, you already know, okay, Monday's a quote, I just have to figure out which one. Tuesday's a tip, I just figure out what tip. And I know what it's gonna look like, and I know what it's gonna sound like, okay? So we talked about time blocking, scheduling, swipe files, graphics, themed days. 2 more tips for you today. They're kind of go hand in hand. They sound a little similar, but they're a little different. So the first one is repurposing content. If you're a podcaster, if you're a YouTuber, if you're a creator, you've got blogs, you've got emails, you have a wealth of content that you can repurpose into social media posts. This type of content is fantastic for kind of zhuzhing up and using in a different way. This video is a great example of the repurposed content. This video was originally a podcast episode recorded 6 months ago, so I updated the content. I've used a few different stories. I've kind of used a few different elements for video's sake, and here we are talking about simplifying social media just in a different medium. So you can absolutely do this with your content as well, especially if you have long-form content. Find different ways you can repurpose it on social media. This video has 7 tips, for instance. Hint, hint, those can be 7 tips of the day, and I've got 7 weeks of content just ready to go. Now the last tip is recycling content. A little different from repurposing. So repurposing is taking something and making it into something else. When I say recycling, I mean reusing the exact same content over again. If you go to my Instagram, it's @ANDREA, and you scroll through my feed, you'll see that 6 months to a year, I start reposting some of the same content again, especially the content that performed really well. And the reason that I do that is because I think the stat these days is about 10% of your audience sees a post at any given time. So I want to repost that amazing content again, because chances are 90% of people haven't seen it yet, and that's only counting my current audience. In the past year, I've grown my audience, so I've got new audience members who haven't seen that content again. So I want to repost it. And I guarantee you, if you do this little tip, it saves you a lot of time, so you don't have to keep creating content all the time. But also, I promise you, no one is going to remember that you posted that post a year ago. Sometimes I'll change out the picture and I'll update the caption a little bit, but it's pretty much the same content. So I hope these 7 tips really help you streamline your social media so that you're not spending all day figuring out what to do on social media. Because honestly, I want you to get back to doing what you love, building your business, creating your podcast, creating your blogs, and so much more. Thanks so much for watching me in this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!